That's when the fire chief came and he got up on the counter. He said, "Did you climb up here and put this out with your hand?" I says, "No." He says, "I can see the singe and it looks like somebody's hand put the flames out all over."
Hello, and welcome to Ladies Uplift Circle, the podcast. In this episode, we speak with Sister Sherry and Sister Betty about amazing miracles that have happened throughout their lifetime. And they just share one miracle after another, and they're all undeniable and amazing and beautiful. And you truly don't want to miss this. We hope you enjoy. Thank you, sisters, for joining us. To start, can each of you share your name, where you're from, and how long you've been in the church?
Okay, my name is Sister Betty DeRazio. I've been in the church 75 years. I was baptized when I was 16, and I have reached my 91st birthday. And I'm from Edison, New Jersey. And how the heck did you get us involved in this?
So, I'm Sister Sherry Curtin. I attend the Hope Lawn branch. I live in Edison, New Jersey. This is my mom,
Oh.
and I've been baptized 53 years in the church. And my husband and I have two sons, Joshua and Aaron Olexa.
Very nice. Thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. Now we've invited you on because we know you have so many nice experiences that the Lord has given you. So we want to get to all of them. So we'll just jump right in. To start, I know there were a few that kind of helped build your faith really early on in your life. And Sister Betty, I know your mother had a really nice conversion story. Would you like to share how that might have played a role in your coming to church?
Well, I wasn't born yet. I wasn't even around because that was my brother was born around maybe 1925, and I was born in 1934. But my mom and dad both were members of the Catholic religion. They introduced my father to the church, and he fell in love with the church and he was baptized. But my mother wanted to live the life they were living, and she was pregnant with my brother. And it was a Wednesday night, and she said to my dad, "Rocky, I think I'm going to have my baby." He says, "Well, then I'm going to go to church and I'll be praying for you and God will take care of you." Well, that didn't sit too good with her, that he was leaving for church, but he did. He went to church and he came back home and she says, "Rocky, I'm going to have this baby." And he says, "Well, let's call the doctor." So they called the doctor. The doctor came and he went up to my mother upstairs and he said to her, "Mary, it's gonna be a couple of weeks before you have this baby. You're not due yet." So he and my dad went downstairs, and my mother said, "God, if this church that my husband belongs to is a true church of Jesus Christ, let my baby be born right now." Well, my brother was born over 9 pounds, no help in anything. The doctor ran back upstairs. He said, "This is a miracle. I didn't do anything at all. I can say it's a miracle." Needless to say, my mother joined the church after that.
Oh, I love that. And if she hadn't joined, then you wouldn't have joined. So thank God for that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
so that was quite an experience to have, you know. But we were so used to, as we were growing up, so used to people being healed and things happening around the 1940s and 50s. This happened in 1964. My daughter Mary was 4 years old, and we were at a picnic at my brother's house. I'll try and make it short. And as, she was playing, she went over to their Doberman and she startled him and he bit her, and he gave her quite a bite right in her face. So, we prayed for her and we rushed to ER to get her taken care of, and they gave her a stitch in her face and we came home. Then after we left, it was around 12 o'clock in the morning, she woke up and was crying, and we went in to see her, and, her face was just opened up and the blood was coming out, and we cleaned everything up, and finally, we put her to sleep. And then we went to the hospital the next day. Not the hospital, sorry, the doctors, and he said, "Wow, she had quite a bite." He says, "But I'm so glad they didn't stitch her." I says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "They did put a stitch in her." He said, "There's no stitches here at all, and thank goodness there isn't, because there's an infection and it would have made her deathly ill. He said, so I'm glad she never got the stitch. So my husband and I looked at each other and didn't know what to say, except thank God. When we arrived home, we got a call from one of our older sisters in the church, and she said, what happened to Mary? And I said, how did you know that? She said, the Lord woke me up at 12 o'clock last night and told me to go in prayer for her. And that's when her face opened up and the blood came out and God saved her. So what else can we say? How we depend on God and one another. So here, something that was supposed to make her ill, God had it open up through his sister's prayer and Mary was fine. You hardly can see even the scar on her face. It's so tiny.
It's a good thing that the sister listened to, um, the voice of the Lord,
Yeah,
follow the direction of the voice of the Lord.
Absolutely. It gives me chills because, I'm a semi-new mom. And I am so anxious all the time, ever since becoming a mom. I mean, you have anxieties before that too, but when you become a mom, you're just anxious about your child 24/7.
yeah,
Yeah,
Am I making the right decision? What if this happens and I'm not there or I
right.
am there, whatever. So it's really so nice to hear that God was just watching over your daughter, and it's really comforting to know that it's his child too, and even more so than ours, and he loves them and protects them and takes care of them.
I've heard experiences like that before where someone was healed and they'll mention it and they'll be like, "Oh, I prayed for you at that time exactly on that day," and there was no conversation in that moment or during that
No,
event. It was just God told them to pray for that individual, and it's nice to know, even, like, as a mom with those anxieties, that there's other people in the church that or God is prompting people to also
right.
look out for your kids and your loved ones.
that anxiety shows you're good moms.
Mm.
So I was in my 20s and I had gone out with some people from work and I was on my way home. So it was later at night, like 1 in the morning. And I was driving. It was close to home. And I heard my dad speak to me. He had died in 1980. So um, this could have been like 1985 or 86. S- Uh, I heard him say to me, "Honey, lock your doors." So back then you have to lean over and lock everything. It wasn't like today you hit a button. So he said it a second time. He said, "Sherry, lock your doors." And I said, "Okay, Dad." So I leaned over and locked all four doors. And then I came to a traffic light. And at the traffic light, a group of six guys were in a car that pulled up next to me. And they all were drunk. They got out of their car and they tried to get into my car to get to me. And if it wasn't that I listened to the word of to m the word of God talking to me through my dad, who knows what would have happened, but I'm really thankful because I just took off, and by the time they got back in their car to follow me, I was gone. The Lord gave me that head start, and they couldn't follow me and find where I lived, and I know God protected me against what would have been a really scary, horrible at night. So I thank him for that.
Definitely, thank God. And you were young then too, so yeah, I'm sure that really helped with your faith building.
It totally helped with my faith building, and, I thought it was interesting. It wasn't I was with my work friends at the time. I wasn't with, like, my church friends. There's a difference, and God looks after like, he loved me enough to care whether I'm with who I'm with, it didn't matter. He loved me and showed me he loved me and took care of me. So I thank
Yeah,
God for that.
that's so true. He wasn't like, "Nope, I only take care of you when you're actively serving me." "I'm always with you." He was like, "I'm
Right, I'm
always
with
with
you
you."
whether you're talking to people that are from church or you're talking to your friends from work or anything.
He speaks to us, and you don't always hear a voice, but he's in your mind, and you hear that in your mind when he tells you what to do. And I think that's really important that no matter what you're doing, part of you is always with the Lord. You know that in your mind you're ready to hear him. So you live your life pretty much the way you should, even though you make mistakes, but he loves us. And that's the nicest part. And I remember that I was walking after church. It was after my husband died, and I'd like to take a walk on Sunday. And I was walking down the street, and as I was walking down the street, across the street, we called it a saloon then. I guess you call it a bar now. Anyway, I saw this guy crossing the street, and came out onto the sidewalk, and I hadn't reached him yet. And the voice said to me, "Stop, look, and turn around." Clear as day. I stopped and I was startled and I looked up. There he was standing there with his hands on his hips, his legs open, ready to fight whatever he was going to do. And I knew that the Lord protected me. And what he did is I turned around, did exactly what God told me to do, and I kept walking. And when I looked back almost a block later, he was still there waiting for me. But God spared me whatever was going to happen that day. So it's important to listen when he talks. And one other time I'll never forget when my daughter Mary was maybe about 2 years old. She was in the bedroom and with Sherry, and I was folding clothes in the living room, and a voice said to me, "Pick up your daughter Mary." And I thought, I'm going crazy. I looked, there's nothing wrong in there. Said it again, and the third time he said it so strongly, "Go in and pick up your daughter Mary." I ran in there, picked her up, and as I did, the shelf above her head came down and it would have killed her. I picked her up and down came the shelf, and I'll never forget that when I walked in there and saw that glass shelf down where she was sitting, and he was so kind to tell me to go there and get her. So it's important that you listen to that voice because that voice is talking to you, and it is God. You're not hearing it audibly, but you know enough to know that's where it's coming from. So the closer you keep yourself to the Lord, the more you read his scriptures, the more you take the time to pray. That's when he becomes your partner. That's just what he is. He's our partner. He doesn't leave us alone. So there are times that we may hurt him, neglect him, but he always turns around, forgives us with his loving arms. And I think that's what is so important that he is always there and you listen to him. I remember one time I was getting ready for work and a voice said to me, "Stay home." And I thought, that was weird. And I was getting ready to stay home, so I stayed home. And what happened is my dad was walking and a truck backed into him. And I had to go there and be there for my dad. So it's amazing. I mean, he could stop things from happening, but he doesn't. He comes into your mind and allows you to be part of his life. And that's what I think that you have to keep in mind. He talks to you and it is his voice. So I praise his name for that.
It's amazing. My husband always, whenever it's like, I have a gut feeling, or I just felt like this was gonna happen. My husband always tells me like that's God. Like whether you if even if you don't hear a voice, like that feeling is God's spirit telling you.
He lets you know, right? It's amazing and it's wonderful because he's your partner. I always think of him as my partner walking along with me. And that's when he talks to you because you'll listen. Maybe not right away, but all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this is God talking to me.
Mhm.
My husband says the same thing to me, so that's funny that you um, said that because he'll say, if I tell him, I have a feeling or, the Lord's directing me a certain way, he doesn't even question whether we should listen because he
Mhm.
believes something about women are in tune with the Lord that way, and God speaks to us as sisters in the church.
I'd like to share, a Bible verse that this is reminding me of, John 10:27. "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me."
That brings me to another experience, if I can might relate. There was an older sister in the Metuchen branch, Sister Stella, and she always had these great, wonderful experiences. So I've said to God, I went up to said, and I said hello to Sister Stella, and I went and said to God, I would like an experience like Sister Stella has also. They're always such great experiences. And then after he gave me the great experience, I was like, "Okay, Lord, let's maybe I'll back up a little bit." This was just too great. It was so powerful that um it scared me. It was like if she has these great experiences all the time, wow. So this one, I had oil in a pan and the lid on it, and I was heating the oil to make popcorn, to put the kernels in to pop the popcorn. And I forgot I was heating it. So I had long hair then, um, and I opened the lid, but my face was looking down, never thinking that it would be a fire in there. So I took the lid off, and the flames exploded in my face,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I I could feel the heat. I could my eyebrows, my hair, everything. And all of a sudden, peace came over me. I stood up, straight up, grabbed the pan with my right hand, and it was like a wall. So there was a wall in front of me. No fire was coming towards me. I was calm as could be. I said to my mother, "Turn on the water." Well, she knows you can't turn on the water and put water on an oil fire because then it spreads. But she did what I said. She turned on the water. The next thing I know, the curtains are on fire, the kitchen's on fire, and the oil is jumping out of the pan onto the floor, and that's on fire. So now the whole kitchen's on fire, and all I feel is the peace of God. I go over to the back door, reach in front of the pan that was on fire, open the door, throw the pan out the door, turn around, everything is gone. There's not one thing on fire. There's splats of oil on the ground, and there's soot on top of the curtains. Nothing was burnt. So mom called the fire department, and they came, and the fire chief said, "Somebody up there must really care about you." And he touched he pointed out all the soot on the curtains. The curtains should have been burnt, and all the soot on the floor, all the oil on the floor. The house should have been burnt. I should be burnt today, and
Yeah.
um, I just don't know why God loves us so much.
I wanna add to that, the kitchen was on fire. When I tell you the flames were everywhere, and I said, "Oh my god, the house is gonna burn down." When I tell you the
Yeah,
flames just spread, and when we turned around, everything was gone, and that's when the fire chief came, and he got up on the counter, he said, "Did you climb up here and put this out with your hand?" I says, "No." He says, "I can see the singe, and it looks like somebody's hand put the flames out all over." He says, "All I know is God must love you because this house should be burned." And, I called him because I wanted to be sure there was nothing else going on, that the house was gonna burn, but he took care of us, right, honey?
yeah, he did.
I also wanted to point out I'm teary-eyed right now because as soon as you said that he saw the handprint, of where the fire was put out, that is so amazing. It's undeniable that it was
Right?
God saving you. No one could say
Yeah.
anything. It was God and he was there, and we praise him for that. That's so beautiful.
Especially because it was a fire chief saying it. It wasn't like
Yeah.
us just telling you.
Yeah.
It was somebody
Yeah,
not.
absolutely. It was a
It
third
was like,
party.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
To hear even more amazing experiences, please stay tuned for part 2 coming soon. God bless you all.